Wisconsin gained statehood in the year 1848, starting a long tradition of cheese, beers, and hard-working people who love beers and cheese. But 2 years before that momentous date, in 1846, a German immigrant named John Braun started the City Brewery in the thriving port city of Milwaukee. His operation started small, with around 150 barrels of annual production, and he had just one employee, Valentine. But the City Brewery grew steadily as it filled the expanding thirst of Wisconsin residents, and within a few years, the man Braun had hired, Valentine, had saved up enough of his own money to open another brewery right next door. Then, in 1951, old man Braun passed away. He probably wasn't drinking enough, But to put the last nail in Braun's coffin, our old buddy Valentine married John Braun's widow and took control of his city brewery. After combining the two breweries, production continued to grow over the following decades, branded with the name of our wife-stealing man, Valentine Blatz.
It's Blatz week, Nick.
Blatz is back. It's been a long time coming. The Cold Cans boys had to do a Blatz.
It's kind of, there was a lot of pressure on this episode, right? Like
oh yeah.
This one means so much to it, and we're going to get into it. But this one means so much to us, and we did some research. It has family ties.
Yeah, it's my first time.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this
Wikipedia
episode? They got info on there.
Oh, no. We're talking boots on the ground research, Nick.
Oh, what? Past Wikipedia?
But we're drinking a nice cold Blatz beer, established in Milwaukee. I loved the intro. You really took me on a roller coaster on that one.
Yeah, it's quite the history. I wonder if there's like bad blood between John Braun and Valentine Blatz.
The Braun and Blatz families.
For, the whole wife-stealing venture.
Swooping in. But
hey.
Yeah. So he had a brewery? Do we know what that was called? He just had a different brewery.
Yeah, he just opened a different brewery next door, and then apparently John Braun's wife was ruined by his death, and Valentine Blatz was her white knight to make her feel better.
Got it. So, that kind of puts a dark spot on my love for Blatz.
Puts a dark spot right on my liver as I drink 30 Blatz a day.
Blatz typically do. So Blatz beer, established in Milwaukee, 1851, a very old beer.
Yes.
For me, for you, for everybody in Cold Cans Nation in central Wisconsin or all of Wisconsin, Blatz has an iconic can. We have the big brown triangle. It's really gross.
Yeah, I would say it is iconic, but it's ugly as hell as well.
They just refuse to update. That's
part of the charm, I
the
suppose.
charm to it.
Yeah.
So for both of us, I suppose we should just dive right into it. For both of us, Blatz, I think, has some family ties.
Certainly.
My own father used to refer to Blatz affectionately as liquid gold and drank it, I think, nearly exclusively throughout at least my knowledge of all of his beer drinking. If the fridge was stocked with beer, it was stocked with Blatz, number one.
This is a Blatz household.
He used to tell us the liquid gold would run through our family's blood, which would kill us.
Yeah, I was going to say, gold can be liquid, and if you drink it, you will die.
Yeah, and we would travel, right? We didn't travel that much. We weren't necessarily a family of means, but we would, we'd go to wherever. If we went to California or I remember we went to Cancun. I was really young. And we were sitting in the resort. And like a waiter came by and he was like, "Would you guys like anything to drink?" And my dad, without joking, was like, "You guys have Blatz beer?" And the waiter, this Mexican guy, was like, I'm not sure, sir." And he had to go and talk to his manager where they would come back and go, "Of course we don't have Blatz beer."
That's awesome.
Yeah, it runs in my family. How about yours?
Same. I talked to my dad earlier today, actually, knowing it was Blatz week here on Cold Cans.
Blatz week.
I wanted to get the expert analysis. And my dad said growing up, he was more of a Schlitz man himself.
Okay.
And then he switched to Blatz later in life.
Kind of a competitor.
Yeah.
Schlitz and Blatz. So what caused your dad to switch?
I don't know. He also said his younger brother, has steadily been drinking Blatz his entire life. And just in the past week, one of his other brothers from Florida was up visiting, and my dad and the brother who drinks Blatz all the time live in the same town still. So they all got together at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My dad met up with them. They're in my other uncle's office, and they're drinking Blatz when my dad gets there.
Classic.
And they ask him, "You want a Blatz?" I don't see why
there's
not.
only one answer. Yeah.
So yeah, it's
That's fantastic.
And another story involving my dad and this tasty beer. He visited me in college one time down in Madison, Wisconsin, and we were eating supper at or dinner. Sorry, showing my Wisconsin. We ate dinner at the Old Fashioned bar.
Classic Madison establishment.
It really is. And
Nice.
perhaps known for its old-fashioned cocktails.
Sure, perhaps.
And we ordered food, and then the waiter said, "Would you like anything to drink with that?" My dad said, "We'll take a pitcher of Blatz." And so we drank a pitcher of Blatz with our nice food.
That's great.
Yeah.
I bet it was the cheapest pitcher they had.
You're goddamn right it was.
That's the allure
value.
of Blatz is the value, right? Get drunk, and I may be polishing the stone a little bit, but from what I remember when we were
Polish
out,
my stone, Anita.
when I remember, hey, it's a family show. It's not that kind of show. When we were out and about trying to look for beer in high school, or trying to have somebody look for beer for us, Blatz was a case. So it didn't come in the 30-pack, so it wasn't like the mass market type beer that would give you 30 of the things. So it was a 24-pack, very classy in its own way. And
very dignified.
And the 24-pack, if I remember right, and listeners, please correct me if I'm wrong. Please don't read transcripts of this podcast.
Yeah.
Listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe a case was $8. At least when I was in high school. It was $8 for 24 Blatz.
Fact check that if you find that he's wrong.
My
tweet at us.
mental state is a rock. It cannot be wrong.
All right. Not even when there's enough Blatz in your gut.
Yeah.
This is giving me some indigestion.
Is it?
Joe. Yes.
I took another sip, and we probably should address the elephant in the room that this beer tastes awful. we have a love for it. We have a history of it, but
It's not great.
no, it's bad beer. I don't know.
Yeah, give it another
I feel like
try.
This beer, and maybe I've already claimed this earlier in the show, but this beer, more than most beers I've drank, very warm.
Okay.
I feel like you brought 2 cold Blatz back from Wisconsin. So this is a beer from Wisconsin. So Cold Cans Nation from Wisconsin.
Cold Cans Nation.
Or if you're passing through Wisconsin, by all means, you should try a Blatz. It's an institution. But this beer's cold. You treated us well. And I don't remember drinking too many cold Blatz for whatever reason. I don't order them at the bar, I guess. They're just like always like the thing someone brought to the party that sat in a case outside the fridge the whole time, and it's the last thing you drink at night.
Yeah, same. I mean, this is another one we've talked about in past episodes. If you're like at a tailgate or hanging out at somebody's house, they'll have, "Oh yeah, I think you got a few Blatz rolling around here." And then they'll
rolling
pull them
around.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the draft Blatz I had at the Old Fashioned with my dad, I remember it being, certainly cold, but it was not much better than this. So
Yeah, Blatz on tap is really remarkable.
And related to that, I read that in the past, part of their advertising campaigns, when Blatz was like a national beer and they advertised everywhere,
Right.
part of their advertising campaign was that their beer tasted the same whether you're getting it in a can, a bottle, or a keg.
Oh, interesting.
Because apparently
Because
that
it was
wasn't
so bad.
Yeah. You couldn't tell the difference. It was so bad. You're always spitting it up. Most beers had trouble keeping consistent flavor throughout each of the receptacles, and so Blatz bragged about
This was their claim
being
to
able
fame.
to. Yeah.
Interesting. I like that. And speaking of Blatz being a national brand, the crazy thing about Blatz is because it was, for me anyway, so local and so tightly like knitted to my family. Like it was almost kind of like this joke amongst my friends. And if friends from back in the high school days are listening, they're going to recall a story when I brought, everyone was bringing their own beer to a party, and I brought, at the time, an absurdly small amount of beer. And I said, "This stuff runs in my blood. It's liquid gold." And I brought 6 Blatz to the party, which at the time we were drinking at least a dozen in a night. And everybody belittled me with the first time I picked up a Keystone Light. But in any case, I take it to be such a local and nuclear beer for me that it's insane that out here in Seattle, other places that I've traveled, I've seen it in Texas, and I believe I've seen it in Los Angeles. I can still find signs. There's a wonderful bar in Seattle called Rocco's. Has really good pizza, and it's kind of like this upscale type bar, I would describe. It's not a hole in the wall. It's good food, good drinks, and they have
It's
a big
Seattle
old
hole in the wall.
yeah, and they have a big old Blatz sign in the back of it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And like one of the first things I asked the waiter when he came by, I was like, "Do you guys serve fucking Blatz beer?" And he was like, "Oh no,
Certainly not.
yeah, but I think it's a relic of when it was trying to make a big national push.
Yeah, and those old beer signs are making such a comeback, or maybe they were always popular, but
Yeah, that's
people
true.
collect them so much now and display them everywhere. I do have the catchphrase from that advertising campaign. I talked about it if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
This is from the 1950s to the early 70s. This is the jingle. Kegs, cans, or bottles all taste the same. The three best is one beer. Blatz is the name.
Oh, I like that a lot.
It's not bad. It's really not
Blatz
bad.
is the name as the end of the slogan. That's fun. So that was back in its independence, and it is now owned
Yes, we need to talk about the
It's now
sell-off.
another elephant in the room is that our unbridled love for Blatz has resulted in something we'd like to just brush under the rug. I say we mention it and we move on.
Let's do it.
But
I've never been one to hold a grudge.
It's owned by Pabst Brewing Company. Now, what's interesting is
90% of the beers we drink on this podcast.
But what's interesting is that like Blatz and Pabst Blue Ribbon were once competitors when Blatz was making that national push. They were competitors for like quote unquote the working man's beer, just cheap beer. And that's what it tastes like, right? It tastes like a lot of the. So I
the
think
job
this
done.
is very much akin to Rainier out here. We talked about how it's iconic, it's cheap, it's shitty, it's everywhere. But if you just like are looking for a beer that's available and with an awesome brand to it.
Yeah, this beer is 4.9% alcohol as well, which seems like decently high.
Yeah.
I think, Rainier's
Especially
4.6, so a little bit higher than that.
Right, for one of these like mid-grade like
Yeah.
local that grew into something bigger beers but still regional.
Mm-hmm. And for
Yeah.
such a cheap beer too.
Yeah, I feel like you could compare this alongside. It compares very nicely alongside both Rainier that we drank, I guess Olympia, another regional thing that's been around, iconic branding, and Molson Canadian.
Mm.
Maybe Molson's much more available across the country, but also is specific with the branding, with everything.
Molson's more available across country?
Across the country of Canada.
Oh, yeah.
But available across the whole country, whereas
Gotcha.
Blatz is available just in Wisconsin. But they all taste kind of exactly the same, and they all kind of have this like, I guess I don't know if I'd call Blatz's following a passionate following, but they all do have a following, and it's evidenced by I looked on Twitter recently, and Rainier has a nice following. People are tweeting at it all the time. Molson, people are tweeting at it all the time. Blatz, and you can check the Cold Cans Podcast Twitter account at Cold Cans Podcast.
Log on and check that Twitter feed.
Blatz doesn't have much activity. There was one account, and I'm going to pull it up here. There was one account called Blatz Beer, at Blatz Beer, and you pointed out an excellent thing is that they had about 5 or 6 tweets back in 2011. And this is unofficial Blatz Beer. This is just a mega fan. And their last tweet was, Blatz, enough said. Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
They had
enough
decided
said.
that was enough said. I love if that's like a conscious decision to do that. I'm going to start up a Blatz
I'm
beer
gonna do 5
fan
tweets.
page and then say enough said, never tweet again.
Yeah, it's great. So kind of
Greatest trick the devil ever pulled.
not much of a following, at least on social media. But
Yeah.
so
I think the audience for this beer is not big into social media, I would assume.
yeah,
Neither of our fathers is on Twitter, I don't think.
yeah, it's a generation. I think this is in much danger, and in an upcoming episode, we're going to talk about how millennials are drinking less beer. I think this is a generation that may, its generational attachment may mean that Blatz someday is a forgotten beer, unfortunately.
Until the next wave of nostalgia hits in
It
like
could be.
2021 or something.
Maybe the marketing team at Pabst will like push
Or not
Blatz.
21. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe the marketing team at Pabst will like push it at that point. Like, oh, hey, look, there's this beer that's dying, but now it's cool somehow. And here's a big national push.
Pabst, a subsidiary of Amazon.
Yeah. So Blatz beer, we've talked a little bit about the taste, talked about the marketing, our own attachment to it. But we thought we would do more, as you mentioned at the top of the show, in a nice snide way. We don't do a lot of research around here. Our listeners have complained. We've heard
We get a lot of complaints.
We've heard plenty about our status as researchers. So what we decided to do is we decided to get our researcher, our intern, our social media manager. We decided to get boots on the ground here, folks. So we have a large contingent of Cold Cans Nation congregated around the Bear Lake Campground and Bar in Manawa, Wisconsin, where we're both from.
Check it out.
And if you follow us on Snapchat, you've seen plenty of it. All the patrons and characters there. But mostly you've seen Casey Reierson out there making an ass out of himself. And we said, here's what you need to do.
Cold Cans.
You need to do some research. And he responded with, well, I'll tell you what. Bear Lake every single year throws something called Blatzfest, where they make Blatz, cheap as it is, $1. And he was going to go to Blatzfest, research the beer from the locals that are enjoying it, and report back to us. So I want to play you a couple voicemails he left me. The first voicemail is at 7 o'clock in the morning before he was about to embark on his journey. So let's listen in.
Oh, hey, Joe. It's 7:21. Calm before the storm. Man, oh my God. I mean, I'm pretty much plowed up, drunk here yet from last night. I woke up at 7:21 in the morning, and I'm not joking. You probably maybe a year or two.
No idea what he meant.
Oh, man, I can't believe I'm gonna do it here today. Blatzfest. But the backwater bash, it's gonna get serious. Oh,
there's a shiver.
Man,
Your pain.
Get ready for a couple of dialers.
So the end result was get ready for a couple of dialers. So this is him gearing up after what sounds like a serious, debilitating, crippling hangover. At one point, he went, and
he shuddered at the thought of drinking Blatz all day.
Yeah, as one should. And then he went to Blatzfest and reported back on his findings, his assessment of people buying Blatz, his assessment of his own consuming Blatz at an event designed to consume Blatz. It should be an event conducive for this beer. So we thought we would
Blatzfest, baby.
We thought we would let during #Blatz Week, Casey fill us in on the results of Blatzfest and his adventures there.
Take it away, Casey.
Hey, Joe. 234 here.
Of the time
Just left
update.
Blatzfest. It was a success. I drank about, let's see, I think I had six, maybe 7 Blatz. I'm going to tell you right now, it's dog shit. I mean, obviously. I know your dad used to call it liquid gold. That's a fucking lie. I've never heard something so ridiculous in all my life, so I'll tell you. I go, I'm going to start with Blatz, and it's going to be all right. After 3 or 4, I'm going to be, fine, no big deal. It took me 25 minutes to choke down my first one. Second one took me about 15. Then I got into a swing. I think I had one in about 5-6 minutes for my third. But I'm going to tell you, overall, I mean, it's just dog shit. There is no fucking way someone realistically sits down and goes, yeah, could I get that Blatz? I need a Blatz bad. Hey, granted, even at fucking Blatzfest, it's a buck for a Blatz. And I go, that's a hell of a deal. And by my 4th one, I said, Jesus Christ, this isn't even worth a fucking $1. I mean, honestly, they could sell that shit for $3.85 a case. I wouldn't buy a single one. Ever. Just never would buy one. It's just pathetic. God, I mean, I can't wait until I hear what that stupid, what's that thing called, that rating system you guys use on your deal. I mean, if it doesn't get a 12, and I'm just saying 12 just because I think they have to be nice, but it's just fucking garbage. I mean, how long can I actually leave a voicemail before it cuts me off? That's what I want to know.
So that's the end of his voicemail.
You don't get coverage like that anywhere else, folks.
It's for you, the listeners. That's boots on the ground there. So Casey's assessment, by his own words, it's dog shit beer. And if it was $3.85 a case, I wouldn't buy a single one.
I don't believe that for a second, by the way.
Yeah,
That dude loves value.
I'll call his bluff on that. I would assume following on Snapchat, I'll see plenty of evidence to the contrary. So he says even for the value, it's not worth it, and it's garbage.
Consuming.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at that beer rating score thing we guys do up there.
On your deal.
That thing on your deal. Beeradvocate.com gives it a 65. Translates
Not a
to
12.
poor. Not a 12. 65 is not bad, actually.
Yeah, poor, not awful.
Yeah.
Do they
it's
have
right
any
in
comments?
No, bros didn't even give it
didn't
the
bother?
time of day.
Okay. Wait, does anybody try to leave? Does anybody in the community try to leave any sort of thoughtful review?
I'll read you one from Anglagard 1. Gives it a 3.4 out of 5.
Very specific.
The look, decent head with classic beer color. Ask most people to point to what they think of as beer, and they will point to this. Pleasant, sweet aroma. Tastes like what most people would recognize as beer. Yet, it is an adjunct, but it hides the fact reasonably well. Beer snobs like to rip on basic lagers, especially when they're relatively cheap. The bottom line is, this isn't a bad beer, especially for the price. No obvious corn or rice flavor to it, no unpleasant smell or taste. And on a warm summer day, I can think of a lot worse beers to be drinking, even highly rated craft beers.
Amen.
If I went to someone's house and they offered me one, I'd gladly accept it.
Oh, hell yeah.
If they were good company and I didn't have to worry about driving home, hell, I'd have a few more. That's a real review.
Wow.
Written by Anglagard 1
If I
on
didn't have to
July
get behind the wheel.
16th of this very year, a week ago.
I agree with almost everything they said,
Yeah.
besides getting behind the wheel. No, wait, they didn't want to get behind the
Yeah,
wheel.
if I didn't have to worry about driving home, our lawyers would like us to reiterate, if you
Yep.
don't have to drive home, drink a case of Blatz.
Drink the whole case, even if it was $3.85. So there's a little bit of a
Oh my
contrast
God.
between the reviews.
2 down, someone gives Blatz a 4.44 out of 5.
Oh, to the 100th. Well, so the stark difference between Bear Advocate on our deal and Casey's assessment is this is a guy looking to enjoy Blatz for value. He's looking to get drunk, and he's calling it dog shit.
Yeah.
Then there are experts who are supposed to be tuned to the palate, and they're calling it pretty fucking good, even though it is still rated poor. We've drank plenty of awful beers here.
Yeah.
So I guess that leaves us with our own assessment. We won't get to the rankings yet. Where does Blatz leave you? How do you feel about it?
I think this person summed it up well, what my thoughts are. It does taste like a beer. It's not like a light beer where it's very watery. And again, that rice taste, I think you do get that with Bud Light. I think that's the one that's made with rice.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does taste like beer. I still don't enjoy it. I would never drink a bunch of these in a night willingly. But again, if it was there, if it was offered to me, I would take one.
Or if you were looking to save a few bucks, there's plenty of times
I think
I'm at a
Rodenbach
bar.
Grand Cru's got to fucking look behind its back because Blatz is coming,
we are
baby.
getting to the rankings.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
There's
Your
plenty
impressions.
of times I'm at a bar where, yeah, exactly as you said, I'm not going to order a Blatz if I'm looking for a beer to enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't really pick up IPAs that readily. I maybe go for a pale ale, but one that's craft brewed or something like that. They just have a lot of flavor. But there are, as we've mentioned on this podcast many times, plenty of times that I'll go to a bar, look down the beer list, and see the cheapest draft or can that they have and go, I'm just in the mood to drink a beer with people. I don't want to really enjoy one. I'm kind of full or whatever. I'm just looking in the mood to drink one. So what's the cheapest you have? I would not feel bad about a Blatz. I'd feel bad about an Olympia. I may even pay a little more. So I think it all comes down to value. Save time, save money, take me to the Dairy Milk. And I think Blatz provides fucking excellent value. And I think it's branding. It's my own nostalgic ties. I love it.
I think, that's got to play into it. The fact that our fathers, at the age we were, they were probably drinking Blatz
It's liquid gold.
and all pissed up.
Yeah. And we're drinking Blatz. You brought it all the way out to Washington so we could drink it
This
and review
was
it.
carried 2,000 miles on my back
You
from
walked.
Wisconsin. Yeah, I walked.
It clearly means something to us that we did that. So why don't we get to the rankings?
Let's get to the rankings, Joe.
I'm going to read down the whole goddamn list. Rodenbach Grand Cru, Deschutes Swivel Red, Kona Longboard, Crikey IPA, Rainier, Palisades Pineapple, Eyinger Brauweiss, Rolling Rock, Schaffenhofer Hefeweizen Grapefruit, which, by the way, Twitter follower at Dahlman34 tweeted to us, had to try this bad boy out. Hashtag take it to the dairy mill.
Hell
someone recently drank Schaffenhofer Hefeweizen. Well, it's Dahlman. We know Dahlman.
Yeah.
And then
Give us your review, too, Dahlman. Let
Yeah.
us know how you liked it.
follow us up. Molson, Miller 64, Miller Lite, Budweiser, Olympia, O'Doul's, Smirnoff Ice. So give me a quadrant from Rodenbach to, let's say, Rolling Rock.
Looking
I just
back,
picked that because of the
I think
alliteration.
we're going to regret putting Palisades Pineapple as high as we did. That thing was sweet as
Were
hell.
we peer pressured?
Yeah, we were peer pressured.
We're sorry, Princess of Pineapple.
Very much so. The Queen had made her decree that we had to put it up that high.
Well,
This has to be above Rolling Rock, in my opinion.
I think I have a natural fit, but I want you to place it first.
Yeah, I didn't like Eyinger. I think I would only be hesitant to put Blatz above it because it's like actually considered a good beer. But no, fuck, I hate Palisades Pineapple. I had a second one of the 6-pack that we got. I had a second one like 3 days later, and I hated it. It wasn't good.
Okay, well,
So-
we might have to do a brew redo.
We
That's
got
really
a
hard to say.
brewery do.
Okay, keep going.
God damn.
Boy.
The subjective nature of these rankings is really just inching this beer up.
But we've
into
always
Kona
talked
range.
about that. Oh, mama.
Stop the presses. He did it. He really did it.
Okay, well, where?
No, I would put it I'd put it below Rainier, ahead of Palisades Pineapple.
I love
That's
it.
my slot.
That's exactly where I was
Really
going to go.
nice.
Because for me, it was like, it's a sister beer to Rainier. And
Yeah.
it's two stages of my life. It was my Wisconsin life. It's
My
Washington life. My life. And it was those stages. I had a longer, my roots are down here with Blatz. My pleasant little sprigs are up here with Rainier. And,
Your baby Groot's up here with Rainier.
And I'm going with the roots. And actually, no, you said behind Rainier, above Palisades.
You wanted it ahead of Rainier?
I would put it ahead of Rainier.
I don't know.
Because to me, they both taste the same. And to me,
Oh, really?
subjectively, my roots dig in.
Okay. I think Rainier tastes better.
Okay.
But
I actually, if you put
no,
a gun to my head,
I'm
I'd say
not
the same.
opposed. I'm not opposed. Okay, so it does taste better, but again, that doesn't necessarily matter.
But we talked about in times of conflict, we would go with taste over subjectivity.
Did we
and
say that?
nostalgia. I think local canon expert Danny Shai is going to correct us on this.
We need our
But
super fan
I
keeper of
believe
knowledge.
the canon says that when we
Taste.
tied, we would go with taste, and I buy it that Rainier tastes better than Blatz.
Okay.
It's just my overwhelming love for Blatz puts it ahead. But what do you think? We go with taste, and we say this slot's right behind Rainier?
I think it's got to stay behind Rainier.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that. Because it could have went a lot of different directions. We could have been looking at like fucking Budweiser territory.
Right.
I think it's saying
That would've
something
been-
well to...
Disgraceful.
And you never
That'd
know.
be like stealing a man's wife after he dies. That's how disgraceful that would be.
All the way back around. So that puts us right behind Rainier, right ahead of Palisades Pineapple, and who knows, maybe another brew redo with our fathers, Casey, anyone who takes umbrage with our rankings.
Casey's our father.
We're here. We're drinking beer.
Get used to it. The Cold Cans podcast is recorded in the Overcast Room at Cloud Studios in Seattle, Washington. Visit cloudstudiosseattle.com